Hi everyone, Tyler Manion here, NBC and IFBB Pro League Vice President, and this will be your Dubai Pro recap for Open Men's Bodybuilding, brought to you by Uprising. So we'll go through the top two pose by pose for this show, which was William and Behrooz. Again, obviously I judged them in Spain at the M Pro. Super close show, if everybody remembers. And again, I think this was a very close show here as well. The main difference being that Behrouz's conditioning here was definitely a good bit better than it was in Spain. So because of that, that kind of made it more of a clear decision. I still think it was a very close show, but it made it more of a clear decision for the judges this time. Why is that? So we'll go through. First up was the front double bicep pose. When you look here between Behrooz and William, you see the difference in the overall shape and taper and structure with Behrooz and William. William's waist, is a little bit wider. He doesn't have as much of that taper that accentuates down. So upper body wise, you see Behrooz really has a dominating position here. When you get into the lower body, again, Behrouz's conditioning was much better. So the detail and the separation was better throughout the quads. The quads for him is his main weakness that he needs to bring up. So they can still come up, so it matches the upper body better. William's legs look great again, I thought. I think maybe even a touch better than Spain. I think he added maybe even a little bit more fullness. He still had the separation and detail there. So the lower body has come back very well for William. But overall, top to bottom, when you look at the flow and overall muscularity in this pose, it goes to Behrooz to give him a 1-0 lead. Next up is the front lat spread pose. This is a very strong pose for Behrooz. You see the overall thickness and density from the arms, shoulders, all the way through the chest. The width from shoulder to shoulder, the taper down to a nice small waist. Again, I told you the quads are his weakness, but I still think they look better than they did in Spain. For William, I thought William actually hit this pose better than he did in Spain, but you can see still he needs a little bit, he needs more taper, he needs more width throughout the lats here. His chest also can be a little bit more full and thick in this pose, especially when you compare him next to Behrooz. So I thought that this was also a pose for Behrooz to make it 2-0. Next up is the side chest pose. So this is a pose that I think definitely changed a little bit from Spain until here. Why is that? Again, because you see more detail and separation in Behrooz because of the conditioning than you saw in Spain. So for here, obviously, William has a very 3D look to his muscle. His conditioning is very good. But now when you look at Behrooz next to him, you see upper body-wise that Behrooz has more thickness, more size to him in the upper body. Now when you go to the lower body, William's legs might be more detailed, but Behrooz is showing and displaying enough detail where you see the size difference in the side leg here. Behrouz's hamstrings are dropping more than Williams. His overall size and thickness to the side leg is more than Williams. So when you take everything into account here, I think this pose flips over to Behrooz because of the conditioning and separation that he brought this time. And you can see he has really nice muscularity, flow, and balance in this side pose. That makes it 3-0 for Behrooz. Next up is the back double bicep pose. Now, I think this is a very close pose. I can see how people could view this pose either way. As again, you see Behrooz has really nice width and taper from the back here. His hams and legs from the back are definitely good. You can see detail back there. You can see size. You can see width. I think he has good balance between his upper and lower body in this pose. But you see he still needs more of that next level thickness, and you want more of that 3D look here in his back double bicep pose. Why do I say this? Because you see Williams' back double bicep. Obviously, he does not have the same taper. He does not have the same taper and width to his back that Behrooz has. But the overall detail and separation, and then especially thickness in his back, is really evident here. The back of his legs are still crazy good and crazy elite. You see the difference between the back of his legs compared to Behrouz's, Nathan's, even Rubiel, who's very big, but you see the detail, the width, the size, the overall balance. For me, Williams still takes this pose. His back double bicep is one of the very few in the Pro League that has an overall 3D look head to toe, which makes it super impressive in person. So now it is 3-1. Behruz is still up. Next up is the back lat spread pose. Here is where Behruz's taper and width really pays off. He has enough thickness back there that you see the lines and the thickness throughout his back in the back lat spread. Again, his lower body, like I said before, is very balanced with his upper body, and the conditioning was good. And overall, it's just a very pleasing pose for him. Here for William, you see that lack of width really come out. I think he hit this pose a little bit better than he did in Spain, but still I feel like he could get his lats out just a little bit more. Obviously, the width is what needs to come out in this pose because his lower body is very, very strong. But head to toe, for overall balance and flow, this pose goes to Behruz to make it 4-1. Next up is the side tricep pose. So again, I think this is another super close pose between the two of them. For me, William poses this one very well. Although, like I said, he hits this with the old school way with his leg, which kind of sacrificed some of his leg size here. You can still see the hamstring drop, but it does sacrifice size. Now that Behruz was in better conditioning, again, you see Behruz's side leg here. It has more size. It is bigger than Williams. But I still feel like how Williams presents himself, brings his waistline in here, the detail through the arms, through the shoulders, through the midsection, through the side leg, it really pops on stage. Again, it has more of that 3D look to it, while still having his waistline in control, in check, and making it look smaller. Behruz still hasn't figured out quite how to make this pose stand out for him. This pose, I feel like, should be a really strong pose for him. His abs aren't all the way in. They're not all the way flexed. You're not seeing the detail and the density that you should be seeing from him in this pose. So it's not a bad pose by any means. Like I said, I still think it's a very close pose because of the overall balance and flow and muscularity that he has. But when it comes to more detail and when it comes to how he's hitting the pose to make it look better for his physique, I still think like there's something to be desired there for him. He can turn this pose into a really big strength for him as he works on it moving forward. But today, because of the reasons I just stated, I gave this pose to William to make it 4 poses to 2. Next up will be the ab and thigh pose. Again, this is a nice pose and strong pose for Behruz because of his taper. He has a very small waist. He has nice detailed abs. Again, from the front, the quads can come up, but overall, it's a very, very strong pose. This is probably William's weakest pose. Again, I don't know why he's pulling up with his rib cage and pulling up to hit almost like a half vacuum and hold it there for a long time. Then he would transition into more of the crunch down, one arm down, flexing, ab and thigh. I think he should stick with that. I actually don't know if it would look even better if he maybe did more of even a straight on pose instead of with the obliques forward and then sucking the waist in and then crunching down, maybe even going forward, as I think he has nice abs. So if he was a little bit more forward facing, maybe that's something he could play around with. But in comparisons, he should never be hitting the stomach sucked up pose. He doesn't have the taper to do it. He's not hitting a full vacuum either, so it's not getting the full effect of what I think he's trying to do. And overall, it just makes him look a little bit too blocky. So he needs to change that up. And for that reason, this pose goes to Behruz to make it 5-2. Now, last up is the most muscular. Again, I feel like Behruz should only stick with the hands clasped together. As you can see, he displays a lot of muscle in this pose. However, William, with his crab most muscular, again, that's where that 3D look, that density really comes out. From shoulder to shoulder, he makes his chest look better in this pose when he's hitting the crab. His legs have detail, and his legs have more balance between his upper and lower body. I think this is a really strong pose for William. So I still think he takes this most muscular to make it 5-3 Behruz. That would be the reason that Behruz won. That next level of conditioning that he brought definitely helped him edge out this show. As he moves forward, bringing up the quads, more density to the back, and then some posing fixes as well, but really bringing out that the striations and everything else that he can bring out in his physique is going to keep taking him higher and higher. He has a ton of potential, especially if he can improve the quads from the front, and hopefully we'll see him at the Olympia this year. In third place, we had Nathan. For me, Nathan's conditioning while it wasn't bad by any means, it was just a little bit, I would say, on the flat side where he wasn't displaying the pop and the fullness and the separation that the other two guys had at this show. I think that's what dropped him down to third. I feel like he's made a lot of improvements to his physique from last year to this year, especially with the leg size. I feel like his legs definitely have come up. Now for him, I think he can still use some more detail to his arms, especially the inner arms when you look at the front double bicep. His back lat spread, he rounds his shoulders too far forward and flattens out his back. And then conditioning, I feel like if he had nailed his conditioning and brought that perfect peak, he would have been right in there with William and Beirut when it comes to physique-wise. So he can still improve the legs more, in my opinion. He can also improve posing, side chest, side tricep pose. I think he can pose those a little bit better, especially the side tricep. Back lat spread, like I said, he needs to hit that better as well. But overall for him, just basically keep doing what he did from last year to this year. Add more size, add more detail overall to his physique. I feel like back double bicep has improved a lot. It's always been a stronger pose for him, but I feel like he added a little bit more to the lower lats, so it feels more complete. From the back too, I feel like for his back legs, when you look at his back legs compared to Williams and even Beirut's, they were a little bit behind. So that's when that leg size comes in again. It needs more width and needs a little bit more detail to the hamstrings. Side leg could come up in size also as well. But overall for him, it just comes down to he kind of missed that perfect peak a little bit while the other two were in very, very good condition. And that's what knocked him down to third. In fourth place, we had Rubiel. So Rubiel is definitely a monster. He's definitely huge. His conditioning was way off. He needs to bring in that conditioning. I actually think that he brought in his waistline more from last year to this year. If he continues to do that, that is going to really, really help him. His back also looks like it's better to me. You obviously can't see it as well when the conditioning is not there, but I feel like when he's dialed in, you're going to see big improvements to his back. So for him, number one is focus on the conditioning, really get peeled, keep bringing the waistline in, keep improving the back. I feel like his arms improved when they're up. His side arms in the side chest, side tricep are great. He needs a little bit more size when he's hitting the front double and back double. So that can improve a little bit more as well. But really, this guy I think is going to be hard to handle if he gets in shape. And I just really want to see him nail it 100% to see what he looks like next to all these guys, because he has all the sizes in the world. Doesn't need any more to his legs either. So I don't think they added more to his legs. I think they're going to look better when it's in condition, but we have to see it. So, and also with him, he needs to work on posing. If he was in the top call out, I don't think he would have lasted with the poses. He needs to work on posing conditioning. He needs to work on hitting all his poses correctly. He has stuff to work on, but he has a very, very exciting future and potential that I'm looking forward to see. That's the recap for Open.